well, good morning, everyone. I'll call the Board of Supervisors for Dubuque County into session on Monday, March 8th, 2021 at 9:01. And the first item on our agenda is public comments. If there's a member of the public that wishes to address the Board of Supervisors on issues that are not public hearings, we do have 6 public hearings today. You'll have time to comment during the public hearing section of our agenda, but if you're here and would like to speak with us about another issue on the agenda, you can do so by raising your hand in the Zoom function. You can also in Zoom write a chat in the chat box. If you have a video function, you can give us a wave, and we'll wait a few minutes here to see if there's anyone who would like to address the board. Dawn, do you know if anyone's present in our boardroom?
Just Mary is present today in the boardroom.
Okay, thank you. I don't see anyone raising their hand on my check of Zoom. I don't see anything in the chat box, so we'll go ahead and begin. The first item on the agenda is proclamations. We do not have one at this meeting. Next is the approval of the minutes of February 22nd and 26th. And if we find no corrections, we're looking for approval.
I'd make the motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I will second that.
Motion is second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. On to consent items. There are 3, and they can be acted on by a single motion unless we wish to have one pulled out for separate discussion. It is a liquor license for Timberline Golf Course, class beer permit for Divots Golf Shop, and a liquor license for Dockside Bar and Grill.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items as presented.
I will second.
Motion is second to approve the consent items. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Item number 4 on the agenda are the procurement procedures. We have a receipt of bids that we'll open today, I believe, for HMA resurfacing on English Mill Road, project lost-22 sub 01-73-31. And Mary, if you're there, can you tell us how many bids we've received?
There are 2 bids that came in on that project. Okay, the first bid is from River City Paving. The amount of $979,669.85. Again, that's River City Paving, $979,669.85. And they do have the bid bond. And that looks appropriate. Second bid is from Top Grade Excavating in Farley. Okay, this is Top Grade Excavating in Farley. Their bid is $1,016,002.10. That's $1,016,002.10. And they also have the bid bond.
Thank you, Mary. And that completes the receipt of the bids. Is that
Yes, it
correct?
Yes,
I'll make a motion to receive the bids and refer them to the county engineer for his recommendations.
I will second.
Motion is second to receive the bids and refer to the county engineer. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. We have several notice to bidders and resolutions. Is there a reason for the county engineer to help us with this? Is there anything you want to set up or give context, Anthony?
So if you have any questions, yes, feel free to ask. But otherwise, yes, we're pushing out our kind of final list of plans for this year.
So you'll need us both to approve the notice out to bidders, but also the resolution approving the plans.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah. So this will be approval of those plans and then setting up the actual bid.
So each of these items will need two separate motions.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. The first item is motion to approve notice of bidders for HMA resurfacing with milling on Horseshoe Road, North Cascade Road, Military Road, and Schuler Heights Road project LFM-M22 sub 01-7X-31.
I'd make a motion to approve the notice to bidders.
And I will second that.
Motion is second to approve notice to bidders. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Then we have the resolution to approve the plans and specifications for that project. Is anyone interested in
I will make
making
a
the
motion to approve the resolution.
I will second.
Motion is second to approve the resolution. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Next, item C, motion to approve notice to bidders, HMA resurfacing culvert replacement and grading on Kemp Road and Kane Road, project LOS-22 sub 03-73-31.
I'll make a motion to approve the notice for the bids.
And I will second that.
Motion is second to approve the notice to bidders. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Next is a resolution to approve the plans and specifications for that project.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
I will second.
Motion and a second to approve the resolution approving plans and specifications. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Letter D in our agenda, motion to approve notice to bidders for PCC overlay unbonded on Roller Coaster Road and North Cascade Road project LFM-P22 01-7X-31.
Anthony, this Harley, what's the unbonded mean? I'm not,
So what unbonded means is that we actually put a separation layer on top of the a separator layer on top of the existing concrete. So we're putting down what's called a fabric that's laid on top of the existing road, and then we place 6 inches of concrete on that. So that creates the unbonded nature between the old concrete and the new concrete.
oh, okay, thank you. I would make a motion to approve the notice to bidders.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the notice to bidders. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Then we have the resolution to approve the plan and specifications for this project on the Roller Coaster Road and North Cascade Road.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
I will second.
Motion is second to approve the resolution. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Very good. Next on our agenda, item number 5, are a series of public hearings. We do have, I believe, 6 this morning. So as presented on the agenda, we'll begin with the first, which is our public hearing on the proposed property tax levy. We'll need to also take action on the resolution if we choose to do so. So Stella, did you have any, I don't know, and I would ask my colleagues how much context we wish to have for purposes of our public hearing today. Is Stella with us?
Yes, good morning, everyone. The public hearing on the agenda today is the proposed property tax levy for the general funds and for the rural funds. So the public hearing or the notice is in your packet. If we could flip to that quick and project that on the screen. What this notice shows us is that column 1 is the current year certified property taxes in our general services and rural services. The second column is the new FY22 valuations and what our property tax levy would be if we did not increase our tax asking. And the third column is what we are actually requesting for property taxes and what that levy equates to on lines 5 and 10, column 3. So the proposed percentage change in those dollars is 2.88% in the general services and 3% in the rural services. So this morning we're having a public hearing to allow anyone to comment on this.
Do the supervisors have any questions of Stella at this time?
I do not.
Do not.
Very good, then we're looking for a motion to open the public hearing, please.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for the
I will
property.
second that.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. That motion is carried. We are now in public hearing. If there's any member of the public, and that of course includes our own department staff that usually join us on these meetings, if they would like to ask us questions, or more to the point, I guess, to make comment directing us to an issue that they see with our proposed property tax levies. And the same thing in Zoom, you would go to the participants area or chat, or give us a wave on video. At this time, I don't see anyone, but we'll wait another moment. And we don't have anyone in our boardroom, so there's not a citizen there. If anyone can see the full panel, do we have anyone who's using video? Again, I don't see anyone on the participant screen.
Chair McDonough, this is Dawn. I do not have any notices of speakers for this hearing.
Okay. Very good. Seeing no public participation, we will ask for a motion to close public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I will second.
Motion is second to close public hearing. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. So back to the board. Do we have any other discussion? Otherwise, we do have a resolution in our packet to establish the maximum property tax dollars for fiscal year 22.
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution.
And I will second that.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the resolution establishing maximum property tax dollars for fiscal year 22. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Next on our agenda is a public hearing. This is a zoning case. ZC number 02-03-21, William and Diane Ernzen and Jeff and Barb Bergfeld, A1 agricultural to R2 single family residential. And I believe, is Tammy Henry or her designee here?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Tammy, thank you for being with us.
Okay.
Nice to see you.
Yes, you too. The applicants are requesting rezone from A1 agriculture to R2 single family residential, 2 acres, to allow their daughter and son-in-law to build a future home. This property is located adjacent to the city of Dyersville along Old Castle Road and is legally described as Lot 1 of Heritage Acres, Section 5, T88 North, R2W, Dodge Township, Dubuque County, Iowa. The property is owned by William and Diane Ernzen. Zoning in the area includes A1 agriculture to the north, the south, and the west, R2 single family residential to the east and the west, and R3 single family residential to the north. The R2 single family residential to the east on zoning case number 05-17 of 02 was to allow 10 acres to be rezoned for residential lots. and the R2 Single Family Residential to the west on zoning case number 0618 of 06 was to allow 20 acres to be rezoned for a residential development. The R3 Single Family Residential to the north on zoning case number 9015 of 70 was to allow for a single family home. And the R3 Single Family Residential to the north on zoning case number 9015 of 79 was to allow for the construction of a single family home. And the R3 Single Family Residential to the north on zoning case number 9013 of 81 was also to allow for the construction of a single family home. The R3 Single Family Residential to the north, zoning case 28 of 98 was for the construction also of a single family home. And the R3 Family Residential to the north on zoning case number 927 of 03 was to allow for a single family home to get the home into compliance with the zoning ordinance. There are no previous rezoning cases attached to this property, and there are no special use permits attached to this property. 28 rezoning notification letters were sent to the property owners, and the city of Dyersville was notified. Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 9, Agriculture and Natural Resources, page 134, Objective 3.1, and Chapter 8, Housing, page 122, Objective 12.7 may apply to this case. So as you can see on this map, they're looking to take the corner of that field out, and it's a couple of acres that the daughter and she plans on building a home in there.
Are there any questions for Tammy Henry from the board?
Is there another, excuse me, Tammy, is there another hearing coming up where there's another lot attached to that?
You mean a plat down the road? Is
Yeah,
that what you're
yeah.
referring to? So there will be a plat for this down the road, yes.
But is there another lot next to that one? I thought I saw.
No. As far as at this time, they're only asking for this area.
Okay.
And the reason that we bring up all of those zoning cases is so that I know that we talk about spot zoning and whether or not we look at whether this would be spot zoning. And in our office opinion, this would not be spot zoning. Obviously, we have several different kind of zoning layers out there. We did have a vote from in the board members that night. There was 5 members. We had a vote that was, I'm looking at my notes, I'm sorry. The vote was 4-1. Ms. Caitlin voted against it. She did not like the fact that we were taking out any agricultural land.
Hearing no other questions for Tammy, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
I will second.
Motion is second to open the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. We are now in public hearing. If there is a member of the public that wishes to address the Board of Supervisors regarding this case, you may do so at this time. And we'll pause a moment to see if anyone, our screen sharing has now shifted to the next case, but we are still on the case of Ernzen and Bergfield. So if there's anyone who wishes to speak, enter a comment in chat. Or use the video function. I am not seeing anyone wishing to address the board on this matter.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Motion is second to close the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. That motion is carried. We are back to the Board of Supervisors for further action or discussion.
I will make a motion to approve the rezoning.
I will second.
Motion is second to approve the rezoning. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to suspend the requirement this amendment be considered and voted on for passage at 2 prior meetings.
I will second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion that the amendment be adopted and that the zoning administrator be directed to enter the appropriate changes in the official zoning map and that the auditor be directed to arrange for the publication of the amendment and portion of the official zoning map as amended in the official county newspapers as required by law.
I will second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. The rezoning is approved. Next in our public hearing schedule is another zoning case. ZC number 02-04-21, Coates Development LLC, Ryan and Jesse Coates, M1 Industrial Conditional to M1 Industrial Conditional. Tammy, if you have some comments?
I do. The applicants are requesting rezone from M1 Industrial Conditional to M1 Industrial Conditional 5 acres to allow Coates Development to rent space to the existing business known as Skyline Diesel. This is to get this property into compliance with the current M1 Industrial Conditional Zoning Agreement. The property is located 0.75 miles east of the city of Piasta along Cottingham Road and is legally described as Lot 3 of Cottingham Road subdivision, Section 14, T88 North, R1E, Vernon Township, Dubuque County, Iowa. This property is owned by Coates Development LLC. Zoning in the area includes R1 rural residential to the north, the south, the east, and the west, and R2 single-family residential to the northeast and the southeast, B2 highway business to the west, M1 industrial to the east. The R2 single-family residential to the northeast on zoning case 1030 of 02 was to allow for 45 acres to be rezoned for a single-family residential development. And the R2 single-family residential to the southeast on zoning case 0722 of 07 was to rezone 230 acres to allow for a less restrictive setback requirement for a new residential subdivision. The M1 industrial to the east on zoning case 0405 of 12 was to allow for 18 acres to be rezoned with conditions placed on 6 of the lots. And the M1 industrial to the east on zoning case 11 of 02 was to rezone 45 acres to allow for warehousing, storage, and trucking services. And the M1 industrial on zoning case number 0310 of 06 was to rezone 1.97 acres to allow for a trade and contractor's office. The M1 industrial to the east on zoning case 37 of 07 was to rezone 2.19 acres to allow for an auto body repair and painting, including auto sales and outside storage of vehicles. The M1 industrial to the east on zoning case 91505 was to rezone 1.25 acres to allow for the construction of a heating, air conditioning installation business. There are 2 previous zoning cases attached to this property, and they include zoning case 1137 of 16, which was to allow for the construction of an 80 by 120 building that would be used for an office and shop for Midwest Concrete. And the second case was zoning case number 413 of 19, which was to allow for the 3 acres to be rezoned to enlarge the existing M1 industrial zoned area to include the current and future expansion. Both cases were given a conditional rezoning agreement with these conditions: that the tree buffer was maintained between the home to the north and the business, and that the rezoning was for a contractor shop and office only. There are no special use permits attached to this property. There are 2 rezoning letters that were sent to the property owners, and the city of Piasta was notified. Comprehensive Plan Chapter 9, Agriculture and Natural Resources, page 135, and Objective 5.4. Chapter 12, Land Use, page 179, Objective 3.5, and Chapter 7, Economic Development, page 105, Objective 3.2 and 3.4 may apply to this case. Now, I will let you know that there has been a special use permit now attached to this, and that has been within the last month. So the Coates came in, they wanted to develop and put another building out here. And so when they came in, we always go out to take pictures of the property. As you know, we give them to you. So what happened was, when I went out there to the site, I noticed the Skyline Diesel. I came back to the office because I remembered at some point that I believed in this case that they were restricted just to their own business. Now, with that being said, the Coateses did not really realize that they could go ahead, or couldn't go ahead, I should say, and add the Skyline Diesel. So what we did was they went to the Board of Adjustment, because the building that they want to build they're trying to make it closer to the roadway, which eventually will be a dead end there. And so we did take their case to the Board of Adjustment. The Board of Adjustment has approved their building with the conditions that this rezoning takes place, that this condition gets changed. So in the zoning meeting, the zoning board members felt that this whole section that you're seeing, this mapped out section there, they would allow them to be able to run other businesses in there and not just restrict to their current business. Now, Ryan and Jesse Coates are currently only planning on Skyline, but they are asking that if in the future they decide to add some other businesses that meet the M1, that they would be allowed to do that. And I do see that Ryan and Jesse are here to speak today at some point. So if anybody has any questions for me first.
Tammy, this is Supervisor McDonough. You said the road will eventually be a dead end.
So as you're coming out and you're seeing the highway there, so
Yes.
Cunningham Road will end right there. So they will not be coming off that access from the highway there anymore.
They will not have direct access to the highway. And when is
Exactly.
that going to occur?
That's in, well, that's in the plans right now. I'm not actually sure when that deadline date is.
Tammy, I could chime in on that.
Oh,
So
thank you, Anthony.
that intersection closure is a part of the Swiss Valley Interchange project, the DOT's performing, right now. So it'll be sometime either this year or into next year that closure will take place. But I believe it'll be this year.
Anthony, this is Harley. Are there any plans for a frontage road?
No plans for frontage road there.
Okay.
Other than the frontage road on the north there, which they connected to Cunningham Road, but nothing on the south there.
So
So the only way in and out would be taking Cottingham all the way back down then?
That's correct. Yes, that'll be a dead end road for them. So they'll have to take that to the south.
Okay.
that was my primary concern, was if we allow, other industrial businesses to be there, the traffic coming off and on the highway. So that's addressed by the requirement that they're not going to have access to the highway. Tammy, can you tell us what the zoning board vote was on this? As I recall, I think it was unanimous.
Yeah, it was unanimous. It was, again, 5 members were present. It was 5-0. And again, I'll remind you that the Board of Adjustment has approved their addition, this building they want to build, based on whether or not we get this. It's conditional to them getting this rezoned, or the conditions lifted and changed, I guess.
This was originally just 3 acres and now they're just making it 5, right?
Yeah, no, actually, they're really not changing their acreage, Harley. What they're doing is changing the condition. And the reason they're changing this condition is because they really were only allowed to have their own businesses in there. And now that Skyline Diesel is in there, it was somebody that worked for them. It kind of morphed down into this. And as the conversation came on with the zoning board, the question was, this area's got a lot of industrial going on. Do we want to limit them so that if they build the new building and let's say, I always say they win the lottery and they make a change, do we want to say that they could still have other businesses that meet the M1? And that is what the zoning board asked for this to move forward with, is to allow them to have other businesses out here besides just their own, if they decide to do that. That's not their intention at this time, other than Skyline, but they did not want to lock them to having to come back every time to make a change.
Okay.
So Tammy, tell me about the plat. And so the property has just one plat that the Coates own?
Yeah, so as you're looking at that aerial right now that Dawn has up, that blue lined area is the M1 area that we're talking about. And all we're doing here is just removing the condition that they can't have another business out there under the M1. So they're not changing the amount of area that they're doing. They will be adding a building that they currently plan on using for themselves, but this would not restrict them from letting someone else rent that building out someday if they chose to do that.
And you may have mentioned this before. How many cases do we have where we have a residential property with an M1 in the same plat?
Okay, so the piece, Supervisor Wickham, the piece that you're looking at does not have a home on that piece. Their home is on a separate piece behind it.
A separate parcel
Yes,
that's platted
several
off?
parcel. Yes, it is
Okay, that
platted
was my
off.
question. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So there are
yes,
two separate plats, two separate parcels.
Yes. So we're talking
Okay.
about the parcel that has got all the business use.
Yeah, I got it. I asked if there was more than one, and you said there was one. So there's two. So that clarifies it for me. And so then my other question would be the access to the home. Will that continue to run through the M1 designation?
Yes,
Okay, but it's a shared ownership, or it's the same owner for both parcels.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tammy, again, Supervisor McDonough, right now the condition is shop only, correct?
Correct. And contractors shop in their business that they currently have.
Did we get any comments from the neighbor to the north?
We did, and actually he attended the meeting and he was in favor of this. He had, Mr. Brem he had no concerns.
Just a quick question for you, Tammy, on the northeast part of the lot.
Mhm.
Looks like the property goes across Mr. Brame's driveway. Is that correct?
It does look like that on that map, but sometimes our maps are off a little bit, but I don't believe it does, Harley. And I know that Ryan or Jesse, you're in. Could you verify that?
No, that's correct. It goes through our property. He's got a easement for his driveway.
Okay, thank you.
I guess my last question would be maybe to the county engineer. If we allow, further industrial development on this property, do we have, and then one M1 brings another M1, brings another M1, and so down the road, do we have any issue with whether or not Cottingham Road can handle this traffic?
Well, we didn't necessarily build that road for heavy industrial traffic. So, I mean, if we're gonna have increased truck traffic on there, that is something we're gonna have to take a look at. We did really recently place an overlay on the section to the south there, so it's in fairly good condition. But it would be another one of our narrow roads that has narrow shoulders and wouldn't necessarily be fit for a lot of heavy truck traffic.
And Supervisor McDonough, I can tell you that I know that the property there over to the east that Patrick Brem owns, he has expressed that someday they may look at moving that into some industrial use as well. And which would connect right into another industrial area. That's not what they're doing now, but they have talked that they may look at that someday.
Right. And when I attended the zoning meeting, I thought the zoning board had talked about just opening up the conditional use, that they didn't discuss that there'd be another building placed on this property because that went to the zoning board of adjustment. That there's another industrial venture that could be placed on this property. I thought the citizen board was talking about just broadening the conditional use and saying that it could be a repair shop.
I did bring that up, that they were going to the Board of Adjustment for a new building, and there was complete discussion about the new building. And because I was trying to make it very clear that when they put the new building up, I wanted to make sure that we understood that this new building would be part of this and whether or not they would allow that building as well to get potentially used by someone else. And that was definitely brought up in the meeting.
Did they put any conditions on this about it having to be a repair shop?
No, they did not.
Ryan and I are not aware of that, Tammy. When we went to the meeting, it was said that we were changing the conditions for Skyline Diesel. And then Jerry had proposed, instead of making it to one specific automotive place, that we would open it up to automotive and diesel repair. So we're not asking for full M1 leisure on this. That's not really what we're asking for. We're just asking for the additional automotive and diesel repair.
And Jesse, that also meets what I thought that zoning board had concluded, actually, when I listened in on that meeting.
All right, so I apologize. I'm gonna read in the condition that we've got signed, okay? So the conditional agreement that was done is that the zoning for a contractor shop, office, and diesel automotive repair shop. So that would also allow that other building to have that in the future if Ryan and Jesse chose to use that.
Can you read that again, Tammy, specifically what the condition is?
Yeah, that the tree buffer is maintained between the home to the north of the business, and that the rezoning is for the contractor shop, office, and diesel automotive repair shop. And that was just signed February 19th of this year.
I guess I'd ask Ryan and Jesse, is that going to, that type of conditional, condition on your property, is that going to allow you to proceed with your new building?
Yes.
And
So
we
if-
have intentions of renting out that new building. It's just a storage shed for the equipment for Midwest Concrete. We don't plan on, they just wanted to make the full 5 acres the same across the board.
And you're going to use the new building for storage for a concrete company?
Which is already there.
For our existing equipment.
We have Midwest Concrete as our existing company here. And the Skyline Diesel has one of the bays in our current shop. And the new shop is an addition to Midwest Concrete. The Skyline Diesel or automotive would not be in there.
Ryan, for your business, you really don't have any, I guess, heavy trucks, do you? Or, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like you're all in concrete out of there, right?
No, we're not on concrete. No, we just got dump trucks and semis.
Okay.
I guess to elaborate on the easement a little bit more, I guess the reason why we're asking for it is because there's 33 feet of easement on our side of the road, and there's only 9 feet of easement on the other side of the road. That's what started this whole thing, is because all the easement is physically on our side of the road. When they draw the circle in on the other side, there's only 9 feet. That's what got this whole thing started. If that makes sense.
On your side of Cottingham Road, are you saying?
Yep, there's 33 feet all the way easement, that blue line, it's 33 feet off the road. And when they draw the easement on the other side of the road, there's only 9 feet. So theoretically, the road's not in the center of the easement. That's what started this whole thing.
That's why I asked for the variance for the building.
Right, and my concern continues to be that, you know, we're allowing this area to expand, and there's not going to be access onto 20. It's going to bring that type of traffic down onto Cottingham Road, which do you use Cottingham Road right now for any of your construction vehicles, your concrete dump trucks and so forth?
Yeah. Yeah, we always go that way. It's not safe to cross the highway in the morning. There's so much traffic. We always go that way. We basically go out and make the loop around.
Down to North Cascade and then back up.
Yeah, because it's not safe. You can't get across the road.
Yeah.
The only way you can get on 20 is if you physically take a right and go towards the truck stop. You can't cross both lanes of traffic and get out unless it's at 5:30. Once it's like 6 o'clock and on till like 8:30, you can't cross the road.
To reassure you, the diesel and automotive shop doesn't have a whole lot of traffic. They definitely don't have heavy traffic or heavy machinery. It's basically.
It's just
lighter
one
stuff.
person, yeah. If anything, all the traffic's coming from our business, so.
And if I may, I know that Ryan and Jesse said, in a lot of the mechanic work, he was doing some of their repairs for their equipment as well. So that equipment would already be coming on site. That wouldn't add extra traffic to that.
My concern is just knowing that there's likely to be an M1 request on the other side of the road or next door and adjoining and so forth. That, you know, are we getting it right, and do we have the right conditions so that we don't have bigger industrial equipment, and then we're going to be eventually increasing what's traveling on Cottingham Road. And I think I sensed some hesitancy by our engineer. I don't know if I heard something he hadn't intended.
You gotta remember right now, though, that all the traffic out of the industrial park has to come down this road. That's the truck route. So every single person that's in the industrial park right now physically is using Cottingham. All the semis for Cordell and every single person. All the other businesses in the industrial park, that's their truck route. You can't even take the left out of the industrial park. All that traffic's already coming down the road already. So physically, when you close the road, there's gonna be no traffic left except for ours.
Yeah. Anthony, do you think that does that meet what your understanding is too, as you see the bigger picture here?
Yeah, I see what the codes are doing. If this were to expand, like you said, on the east side of the road there, and see more M1 request and more industrial area, I could see this growing to be kind of like a Cox Spring situation where we're reconstructing that road to the south of 20 this year because of the expanded, truck traffic there. So, I mean, there's the potential that we're gonna have to do some more work in the future on this, but I'm not against necessarily what codes are saying here. But if this thing were to grow along the road, then, we just need to be aware of that.
And Supervisor McDonough, right now, that property that the Brems own over to the east, that is considered residential. So they could come in and request a subdivision. Not that they're going to do that, but they could come in to do that, and we would have no reason not to allow a subdivision there even. So of course, that would even be increased traffic if that happened. Not heavy use, obviously, like heavy equipment, but they would be allowed to put a subdivision in there if they requested that.
It's not the residential traffic that I'm fearful of. It's what does it do to our roads when we have unintended, growth happen with M1. And that's my concern. I do think we have the right condition here. I just want to make sure that we are discussing this with just an eye to a little bit in the future, to what might happen. And that isn't necessarily a reason to deny the Coates their request. It's just a time to have some discussion.
Did we ever open the public hearing?
Oh, probably should do that.
Should have.
We did not.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
I will second.
Motion is second to open the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. We are now in public hearing. If there are others who wish to speak about the request to rezone, now is the time to do that. And also to Ryan and Jesse, if there's anything else you wanted to say, not in response to our questions, but you can also participate. I mean, I appreciate the information you've given us up to this point.
Supervisor McDonough, this is Dawn. I have no notifications for public comment.
Thank you. The only other thing I would say is that the zoning board wouldn't have known in their unanimous decision that what was the nature of the request before the Board of Adjustment, and we don't get any notices from the Board of Adjustment other than the public notice. I mean, they operate independent of us. So just, it gives a little bit, some context, I guess. So.
Supervisor McDonough, they were aware. I did explain to them what the situation with the Coates is. That's why they put the condition on that if this did not get approved, then they were not going to be allowed to put that building that much closer. So the Board of Adjustment was completely aware of the Coates' complete situation.
I understand the Board of Adjustment was, yes. So do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Move for that. I'll second it.
Motion second to close the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Public hearing is closed. What do the supervisors wish to do?
I'd make a motion to approve the rezoning.
And I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the rezoning. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries.
And make a motion to suspend the requirement that this amendment be considered and voted on for passage at 2 prior meetings.
I will second that.
Motion a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
I'll make a motion that the amendment be adopted and that the zoning administrator be directed to enter the appropriate changes on the official zoning map and that the auditor be directed to arrange for the publication of the amendment and the portion of the official zoning map as amended in the official county newspapers as required by law.
I will second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. And did the minutes show that we also had a motion to suspend the passage at 2 prior meetings?
I think that was the second motion or the second statement.
Yes, that motion was made, Supervisor
Okay.
McDonough.
Thank you. I lost my way. I appreciate everyone having my back on that. Very good. The zoning request is completed. Thank you to Ryan and Jesse for being here. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
guys.
Next on our agenda is public hearing ZC 02-05-21, David and Rose Schneider, A1 agriculture to A2 agricultural residential.
Okay. The applicants are requesting zone from A1 agriculture to A2 agricultural residential 1 acre to allow the separation of the existing farm home from the crop ground for financing purposes. This property is located 1.96 miles south of the city of Holy Cross along Schneider Road and is legally described as Lot 1 of the northwest of the southeast, Section 31, T90 North, R1W, Concord Township, Dubuque County, Iowa. The property is owned by David and Rose Schneider. Zoning in the area includes A1 agriculture to the north, the south, the east, and the west. There are no previous rezoning cases attached to this property, and there are no special use permits attached to this property. One rezoning notification letter was sent to the property owners, and the city of Holy Cross was notified. Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 9, Agriculture and Natural Resources, page 134, Objective 3.1, and Chapter 8, Housing, page 122, Objective 12.7 may apply to this case. This is just pretty simple. It's about financing, separating. At one time, they had to create the 5-acre lot. They're separating this back down to a 1 acre lot and absorbing the balance of that property back into ag. And
Do
I,
we have any,
Commissioner Schneider is on.
and what was the zoning board vote, please?
The zoning board was 5-0.
Motion, do we have any questions for Tammy Henry? Otherwise, a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second to open the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. We are in public hearing. If there are members of the public who wish to address the board regarding this matter, you may do so at this time.
Dave Schneider, 06 First Street North, Farley. If you can hear me there.
Yes, good morning.
Morning, all. Yeah, basically, back in 08, when we remodeled the house, we separated it from the farm for financing. Go after that secondary loan market, lower interest, and not really intent to put 4 acres of crop ground with the house at the time, but didn't have any other options. With the A2 zoning, basically, we're gonna size down the acreage around the house and put that remaining crop ground back with the rest of the farm ground where it belongs. Looking to basically borrow some money back out of the house to fix up some old farm buildings out there is really the intent. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any other members of the public who wish to address the board? Do we have questions for Mr. Schneider? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I will second.
Motion is second to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. We are now back to the Board of Supervisors for questions, discussion, or action.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning.
I will second.
Motion is second to approve the rezoning. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
I'll make a motion to suspend the requirement that this amendment be considered and voted on for passage at 2 prior meetings.
I will second.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
Make a motion that the amendment be adopted and the zoning administrator be directed to enter the appropriate changes on the official zoning map and the auditor be directed to arrange for the publication of the amendment and portion of the official zoning map as amended in the official county newspapers as required by law.
I will second.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. The rezoning is approved. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you being here and all the work you do for the county and the
Thank you.
citizens.
Thank you, Dave.
Our next public hearing is ZC 02-06-21, the Trappistine Nuns, Inc. and Sister Myra, R2 Single Family Residential to PC Planned Complex. And Tammy, do you have a presentation for us?
Yes, we do. The applicants are requesting rezone from R2 Single Family Residential to PC Planned Complex, 62 acres to reorganize the facility at the Tapestry Abbey according to nuns required lifestyle. This will include replacing some of the outdated retreat houses and remove and relocate the current Welcome Center gift shop in the property located 4.14 miles southeast of the city of Dubuque along Hilton Hill Road and Abbey Hill Lane, and is legally described as Lot 2 of Hilton Hill Place in Section 27, except the westerly 551.89 feet, Lot 1 of Lot 2 and Lot 2 of Lot 2 of Lot 2 in the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter, Lot 1 of Lot 1 of Lot 1 of Lot 2 and Lot 2 of Lot 2 in the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter, the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter, and the part of the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter described as beginning at the southwest quarter of said southwest quarter of the northeast quarter, thence northeasterly to point 900 feet east and 300 feet north of said southwest corner, thence southeasterly to the southeast corner of said southwest quarter of the northeast quarter, thence west to the point of the beginning, all in Section 22, and all located in T89 North R3E, Salem Township, Dubuque County, Iowa. This property is owned by the Tapestry Nuns, Inc. Zoning in the area includes R1 residential to the south, R2 single family residential to the north, the south, the east, and the west, and R3 single residential to the northeast and the south. The PC Plan complex will include the Tapestry Abbey Sisters residence, offices and church, the candy production, and the mail order sales. It will also include a double house used for guest retreats, sisters' hermitages, and the sisters' cemetery. The Tapestry Nuns are planning on constructing a new retreat house for guests, and they are planning on adding additional sister hermitages to the property in the future. They are also planning to move the location of their existing gift shop and welcome center to the home that they purchased at the entrance of the property off of Hilton Hill Road. The gift shop and welcome center will be in the lower level of the home, and the parking area will be constructed adjacent to the home. The main level and the upstairs of the home will be used for the caretaker, the visiting clergy, or rented out. The PC Plan complex will follow the R2 setback, which consists of 50 feet from the front and the rear yard setbacks and 20 feet from the side. The Tapestry Abbey Sisters are requesting this change to allow them to make some changes in the future to fit both their service needs and sequestral needs and lifestyle. There are no previous rezoning cases attached to this property. There are no special use permits attached to this property, and 10 rezoning notification letters were sent to the property owners, and there was no city notified. Comprehensive Plan 12, Land Use, page 180, objective 9.1 and 9.3 may apply to this case. So you're looking right now at the map of the area that they currently own. And Mr. Schneider and myself and the sisters have been working on this for trying to decide what would work best for the area. And we really came up with the idea that using this like a planned complex. They have a specific need, a specific way that they're doing this, and their intention is not to change this to any permanent residential use other than for for the nuns themselves. So, and to allow them to still continue to do like the retreats that they do. So in our conversation about it and them needing some expansion in the future, and some of these things might take 2 years, 3 years, whatever it takes for them to do this. This is what we came up with, which seems to make the most sense for this area. This is already really a planned complex, and we just thought that we should get it touched. And also it would allow for them to come in and make these expansions. Now, I will tell you that as they build the building or make a change, they will have to have a permit for any of those things that they do in the future. So we'll be aware of the changes they're making, but it's really, they bought this other house in the front. They're trying to move some of this stuff forward because they are supposed to be sequestral nuns. They're supposed to not really be having all of this activity in their living area. And again, if you have any questions for me, and I also know that Dave Schneider is representing the sisters here as well.
Do we have any questions for Tammy Henry?
I do. Tammy, can you explain a little bit more about a planned complex and if we have other planned complexes in the county?
We do. We have a few of them that have been out there for quite a few years, Supervisor Wickham. And if you'd like, I'll just read you the PC Planned Complex District, what it is, and that'll explain that. So PC Planned Complex District. The PC Planned Complex District is intended to encourage flexibility, innovative design in the development of appropriate 10-acre or larger sites as one integrated project. It would also allow residential, commercial, and industrial developments or combinations of those uses that are complementary and integrated all in the same area. This district requires a site plan drawn to scale showing the location of all streets, lots, and buildings' exterior dimensions and designated parking areas, sewer and water facilities, and uses labeled. A written statement must be accompanied with a site plan explaining how the development meets the purpose and intent of the ordinance. It's in accordance with the future land use map, benefits the general public, and meets the general accepted principles of good planning. And amends to the plan will be required to following all regulations and procedures of the original plan. So what that's saying is this is what they're giving us as plan. If for some reason they come in, and I said this in the other meeting, and I'll say this, they want to come in and add a roller skating rink for some reason, they would have to come back and amend this PC to say, we've decided now we want a roller skating rink. So if that helps, Supervisor Wickham.
Thank you.
Tammy, you said there was letters sent out. Any opposition at all from neighbors or?
We had no opposition. We had several ones in favor of it, but nothing in opposition.
Okay.
And the zoning board was unanimous, I believe.
Yes, it was.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
I will second.
Motion is second to open the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
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 We are an open public hearing. If there's any member of the public that wishes to address the board on this case.
Okay, again, this is Dave Schneider, Schneider Land Surveying, 906 First Street North in Farley. Can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Yes, I want to commend Tammy first of all, did an outstanding job of explaining this because it's complicated, but it's not that complicated, I guess is the way we're kind of looking at it here. There's a lot of things, basically all the uses that she described in the PC district are kind of happening out there. There's living areas, there's a church, there's a cemetery, there's areas that they use for their retreats. There's the house that they purchased at the end. There's sort of a retail gift shop, visitor center. It's all already happening on this property. Basically working with Sister Myra, Sister Rebecca out there to kind of look forward and say, how many of these buildings are to the point where they need to be replaced, and ultimately where are we going to replace them at out here? And that's what we're trying to illustrate by this drawing, is basically more of a location in relation, and the main goal is to kind of work within their regulations that they have for living their cloistered lifestyle, and by separating the public from their private space and kind of having their production facility for the candy in the middle. But basically, it's already a PC use out there. Whenever we would try to basically accommodate each of the, reconstructions or relocations of what's out there, we'd be applying for like a business type use or business type zoning or residential zoning or a higher density residential zoning. So because it's all happening out there already, certain amount of things are going to get removed and basically offset with new stuff to update it, I guess, and bring it up to, number one code as far as septic and all that sort of thing. So that's really what we're trying to do here, and not really, they're not really expanding on what they're doing. They're just trying to reorganize what they're doing. So if you guys have any questions, we'd be happy to answer it. And I believe possibly one of the sisters would be available too, if you have any intent type questions.
If we'd have
Dave,
no
this is
questions.
Supervisor Wickham. What's the total acreage out there? Do you have that, or does anyone have that?
We
front of
do
them?
have that on here. Basically, there's the total acres of the entire property or the area that's being rezoned.
All property owned by the Trappistine Nuns.
Oh, boy, I guess I never even got into that. We were just kind of looking at the area, but there is a substantial amount of farm ground to the north and east of here as well.
Okay, it is more of a curiosity question than a hard known
We
fact that
can
I needed.
answer that. I can answer that. We own approximately 650 acres all told.
So we're looking at about a
Thank
tenth
you.
of the total area.
If there are no other questions, we can close the public hearing. I don't believe we have any other individuals who wish to speak.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
We'll second.
Motion is second to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. We are back to the Board of Supervisors for discussion or action.
I would make motion to approve the rezoning.
And I will second that.
Motion is second to approve the rezoning. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
I'd make a motion to suspend the requirement that this amendment be considered and voted on for passage at 2 prior meetings.
I will second that.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
I'd make a motion that the amendment be adopted and that the zoning administrator be directed to enter the appropriate changes on the official zoning map, and that the auditor be directed to arrange for the publication of the amendment and portion of the official zoning map as amended in the official county newspapers as required by law.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. The rezoning is complete.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you from the sisters.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Be well. Our final public hearing today is the proposed vacation of County Road, the right-of-way, the easement portion of this land. I think County Engineer Barget, are you with us? Do you have any context?
Yes, I am. So I can give you a little rundown on this. So about a quarter mile south of Peru Road there, on South John Deere Road, on the east side of the road there, we have a wider section of right of way, kind of shown in that triangular section there. It's about an acre, more or less, that was actually was purchased by the state as easement at one point, and then transferred over to the county. So this would have been the old right of way at one time, before the South John Deere Road new alignment was constructed. So Mr. Frank Potoff approached our department last year about vacating this little section. And actually this ground would go to Alan Dostal. And Mr. Potoff and Mr. Dossel, they have an agreement with each other to, I guess, quick claim it over to the Potoffs. So officially, this would be vacated to the Dossels. But it's a wide area of right of way that we are not in need of. It's on a hillside there with a lot of brush. And it's definitely out of character of the rest of the right of way along South John Deere Road. So I'm not against keeping this or vacating this. I'm actually recommending it today.
Just for clarity, Anthony, we don't own the property. This is just an easement.
That's correct. Yes. So we cannot officially sell this. This can strictly just be vacated and reverted back to the underlying landowner.
Are there other questions for Anthony? Otherwise, we'll look for a motion to open the public hearing.
I make motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Motion is second to open the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye, we are in public hearing. If there's any member of the public that wishes to address the board on this matter, now is the time to do so. Looking for anyone to put a comment in chat indicating they wish to speak.
Anthony, this is Supervisor Wickham. Can you comment a little bit about the build grant in the area there, and specifically maybe the component of the trail and how this would or would not influence that project at all?
Absolutely. So this particular area would be outside the existing, I guess, limits of the build grant project. So it'd be south, probably right a quarter mile south of the limits. As far as a trail that could potentially be extended to the south to connect with the Heritage Trail down the south, I would probably think that the west side of the road would make more sense to do that, to connect over to the parking lot. And this particular area here is on a hillside, so it would not be very convenient to connect a trail through there. So I don't think it's necessarily favorable ground for that.
Okay, thank you.
I do not see any citizen or member of the public asking to speak on this matter. So I would seek a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make motion to close the public hearing.
And I will second that.
Motion is second to close the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. We are back to the Board of Supervisors. Supervisor Wickham, do you have a concern about the trail issue there? Is that something that you have do you see a vision there that I don't?
I see a vision of a lot of issues related to the trail. So it's unresolved. And so that's the only question I have. And I would agree with the county engineer's assessment. This parcel would not be in the way. And we're actually purchasing right of way in the neighborhood as well. So if on the very, 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 very outside chance, that would still be an option.
Right. Do you favor retaining this easement because we might want to look at it as a possible trail?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's a question to be asked and answered. Right now the trail as part of the build grant is proposed to go down John Deere West and then hopefully cross over Highway 3 and connect to the Heritage Trail. The other option just discussed was, as the county engineer mentioned, running the trail along John Deere Road around the west side of it and then connecting it down to the Heritage Trail kind of by that parking lot and underpass. I don't think anyone's ever considered having crossover John Deere West, which is truck traffic and roundabouts and all that. But if that was an option ever discussed, then you certainly would be going right across this property. But as of right now, it's never been discussed.
Just to add to that, if for some reason we were to put a trail through this little triangular piece, you'd still have to swing back into the right of way to the south there, because there's several residential properties just to the south there. So, you wouldn't necessarily be able to keep running south of this triangle piece, I guess keep purchasing right away to the south there because there's quite a few homes through there.
Appreciate that. Is anyone interested in making a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution to vacate the right of way.
And I will second that.
A motion is second to approve the resolution to approve the vacation of a portion of right of way of John Deere Road. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, everyone. We are through the public hearings. Continuing, let's see, we're at shortly after 10 o'clock. We'll continue on with the approval of the plats. We have 3. Back to you, Tammy.
Okay. So I will start here with Little Creek, and I will let you know all 3 of these plats are related to conservation doing some projects, okay? So the property is owned by Lynn Decker Trust and is located 2.49 miles southeast of the city of Bernard along Creek Branch Lane with a total of 18.15 acres surveyed. The property is owned A1 agricultural. The purpose of this plat is to sell a small parcel of the land to Dubuque County Conservation Commission to allow access to Little Creek for recreational use. The survey creates 2 lots. Lot 1 is a total of 16.84 acres surveyed, and it will remain in current ownership and use. Lot 2 is a total of 1.13 acres surveyed, and it will be sold to the county for access to Little Creek for recreational use. Lot 1 and Lot 2 will use existing accesses off of Creek Branch Lane. There were no additions or corrections required for this plat, and there are no liens or mortgages on the property. Some of the signatures were over 60 days old, and they included the surveyor was November 24th of 2020, engineer November 25th of 2020, plats officer December 16th of 2020, county planning and zoning December 15th, 2020, owner's consent December 30th, 2020, attorney's opinion December 30th, 2020, county assessor November 25th of 2020. This plat's been reviewed by myself as the plats officer. It has all the required signatures. I respectfully recommend approval. So all of this plat, all it's doing is allowing some access. So it's taking off a little bit of the land to allow for an access because they're trying to do like a canoe access for the county to Little Creek. And so it's really just a simple little process that the county's taking some of this land for access purposes.
Okay, Brian Preston, are you with us?
I am.
And what's going on and what's the status with the Conservation Board? What can you tell us?
So there's 3 plats you're going to be coming up. So this is one of the 3. There is limited access to bowstring wildlife area. We are proposing to acquire these properties to develop a parking area and access not only for kayaking to Lytle Creek, but also to build a creek crossing. The bowstring arch bridge that is currently there is nearing the end of its usefulness for vehicles. We cannot take any heavy equipment across it. So we would make a creek crossing that we could get equipment to maintain the wildlife area. The bowstring bridge would only be used for pedestrian traffic at that point.
Is this in your budget presentation?
I don't believe so.
And will there be funds expended for the parking lot?
Yeah, so it's also needed for the secondary road department to turn around. So we'll be working on that together.
I'm also looking at the comprehensive plan, and I don't see this area identified. Is there something that I'm missing?
So in our comprehensive plan, it identifies land acquisitions that are adjacent to currently existing areas, and this is a currently existing area. And it does provide us with the access needed to maintain the property.
Right. On the schedule, though, of improvements to bowstring wildlife area, land acquisition is not one of those mentioned, though that is mentioned in other areas and with other projects and other conservation areas currently. So I'm not opposed to this. I'm just concerned about whether or not we have a comprehensive plan that lays out all of the work that we're planning on doing for the county. So this has been, the Conservation Board has apparently approved the purchase of this land.
Yes.
This is Anthony. May I make a comment?
Of course.
I am definitely in favor of this project with Brian, and we're willing to help out, you know, doing any kind of grading or tree removal or anything that needs to be done in that area. The main reason why I'm in support of this is to close that Bowstring Bridge. It's very much deteriorated, and it's, you know, it's a National Historic Bridge, so we want to try to kind of maintain it where it is now without you know, seeing a failure on that bridge. So we want to shift traffic away from that and ultimately close that bridge.
Would it make sense to go over all three plats and then kind of come back, circle around and approve, table, or deny them?
I'm fine with that if it makes sense from conservation's perspective. Do you want to give us your overall view of what's going on, Brian?
Is Dave still on here?
Mr. Schneider, are you still with us? Yes, he is. At least
All
there
right,
he
I'm
is.
back on here. Dave Schneider, Schneider Land Surveying, 906 First Street North, Farley, Iowa.
Brian, did you have
So-
specific questions for
Yeah,
him?
I don't have a map that shows all three of them, and it's hard for me to look at them without an aerial photo. I assume this is the Decker one that's up now. There's also one with the
This is-
Agostino.
Yeah, this is the Decker one. This is the
Yep.
Decker one you're first talking about. The second one would be the Agostinos, and the third one then would be the Canes.
Yep. So all those property corners come together at the section that we need to get access to the property to cross Lido Creek to get into the Bowstring Wildlife Area. So all three of these are necessary to complete this project. We do have money budgeted for kayak access in our budget existing FY21. So this will solve a lot of problems for us with parking. Currently, there's only one or two vehicle parking area for one or two vehicles. This would allow us to expand that. It is a very popular kayak route. It is probably, in my opinion, one of the most scenic streams that we have in the entire county. And it will provide us access to the property and get us around the historic bridge.
So all three of these plats are connected to this one project?
Yes.
Yes, and they basically, they're all right at the kind of the intersection of where the end of Branch Creek Lane meets the bridge there at Lytle Creek, and the three property owners all meet at that same location. So basically working with Brian to just kind of who's been working with the owners to kind of isolate what he needed to create this canoe access and improve his access across Lytle Creek.
Right. I just want to apologize here too, Brian. I'm reading further in the plan on page 220. The kayak launch / access is clearly listed as something. It looks as though maybe you're looking for a REAP grant to complete part of that project as well. So I am mistaken. It's there. I wasn't familiar with the project, so.
No problem.
Tammy, do we need to take each of these plats individually and
Yes,
have
we do.
approval?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So
Can we
the
go to
first-
the third one? I don't think we've even looked at the third one yet, have we?
Can we put the third one up?
And that one would be the one that's owned by the Canes that you're seeing right now. Number 6, Mr. Schneider.
If I can, I'm going to try to just hold up a drawing. I kind of it's kind of a sketchy drawing, but I kind of colored the areas that we were acquiring from each person, just kind of highlighting the boundary and then kind of coloring in. I don't know, can you guys see that or not?
Actually, we can see it. I don't know. I can't see you, Harley, if you think that's sufficient. I see Supervisor
Well-
Wickham kind of nodding his head. It
Can
is
see him.
actually,
Oh, there we go. Well, we had Dave there.
Yep. So basically, the blue area here is and I'm looking at it from the backside here, is the D'Agostino property. The orange area is the Kane property, and the Decker property is the green over on the other side. Basically, the road comes in from the bottom and then hits the bridge right at this point. So it's literally crossing the Kane property through the Decker property to the bowstring area. So that's why these two were specifically in. And then as we were working on it, realizing that the canoe access was going to happen in this area. So they needed to basically control both sides of the creek in that floodplain area down there in the bottom. So that this is the 3 parcels are the blue colored in, the orange colored in, and the green colored in, plus or minus about an acre on each of them.
It was a pretty complicated thing. The terrain is really difficult there. The only place that we can cross required acquisition of all 3 properties. And we did the minimum amount. Each one is about approximately an acre that gives us the access to the area.
do we have other questions? And I guess back to you, Tammy, have we sufficiently identified these for purposes of our record that the county will know as we've taken these as one discussion point?
Yeah, I would recommend that you allow me to read and the other 2. So for the record, they've been read in and you vote individually on them.
Okay, so let's go back to the first then, which is the Lytle Creek subdivision, our first plat. And you've read that into the record, I believe.
Yes, I have.
Do we wish to take action on this? Do we have other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the Lytle subdivision final plat.
I will second.
A motion, a second to approve the resolution of the Lytle Creek final plat. Did we have other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye, that motion carries. That plat is approved. Our next plat is the final plat of Maloney Farm number 5. Tammy,
Yes.
if you can read that into the record, please.
I will. The property is owned by Bruce and Vicky Descantino, and it is located 1.97 miles east of the city of Bernard along Maloney Road with a total of 73.04 acres surveyed. The property is zoned A1 agricultural. The purpose of the plat is to sell a small parcel of land to the Dubuque County Conservation Commission to allow access to Lytle Creek for recreation use. The survey creates 2 lots. Lot 1 is a total of 72.19 acres surveyed, and it will remain in current ownership and agricultural use. Lot 2 is a total of 0.85 acres surveyed, and it will be sold to the county for access to Lytle Creek for recreational use. Lot 1 will use an existing residential entrance off of Maloney Road, and Lot 2 will have access off of Creek Branch Lane. There were no additions or corrections required for this plat. There are no liens or mortgages on the property. Some of the signatures were 60 days old, and they included surveyor November 24th of 2020, engineer November 25th, 2020, plats officer December 15th, 2020, county planning and zoning December 15th, 2020, county assessor November 25th, 2020, owner's consent January 8th, 2020. This plat's been reviewed by myself as plats officer, has all the required signatures. I respectfully recommend approval.
Do we have questions of Tammy Henry? Otherwise, looking for a motion to approve.
I'd make a motion to approve the final plat, Maloney Farm number 5.
I will second that.
A motion, a second to approve All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. And our last resolution, the plat of Maloney Farm number 6.
Yes, correct. The property is owned by Kevin and Leslie Kane and is located 2.30 miles southeast of the city of Bernard along Maloney Road and Creek Branch Lane with a total of 35.99 acres surveyed. The property is owned A1 agricultural. The purpose of the plat is to sell a small parcel of land to the Dubuque County Conservation Commission to allow for the access to Lytle Creek for recreational use. The survey creates 2 lots. Lot 1 is a total of 35 acres surveyed and will remain in current ownership and agricultural use. Lot 2 is a total of 0.99 acres surveyed and it will be sold to the county for access to Lytle Creek for recreational purposes. Lot 1 and Lot 2 will use existing accesses off of Creek Branch Lane. There were no additions or corrections required for this plat. There are no liens on the mortgages or on the property. Some of the signatures were over 60 days old and they included the surveyor November 24th of 2020, engineer November 25 of 2020, plats officer December 16th of 2020, county planning and zoning December 15th of 2020, county assessor November 25th of 2020. This plat's also been reviewed by myself as plats officer, has all the required signatures, and again, I respectfully recommend approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the Maloney Farm number 6 final plat.
And I will second.
A motion and a second to approve the final plat. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for your extended discussion on this. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Tammy. Thanks,
Thank you,
Brian.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Moving on to the agenda, we're on item number 7, which is a list of action items. The first one is up before us. A motion to approve the hiring of personnel. Dawn, did you have anything you wish to say?
These are again, just backfilling some vacant positions. So we have 3 part-time ones at Sunnycrest, and we have what's considered a grade 1 assistant county attorney who would be working on misdemeanors in the county attorney's office. So again, these are filling vacant positions, so I recommend approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
I will second.
Motion is second to approve the resolution. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Next is a resolution to approve the progress voucher for HMA resurfacing with milling and piping culverts project on Monastery Road, project FM-CO31, parens 107-55-31. Did we have questions? Otherwise, we're looking for a motion to approve that resolution.
Is Anthony on the line just so he can verify each one of these for us?
Yes, I am. So these are the final vouchers for these 3 projects that, these next 3 agenda items. These projects we constructed last year, and we are now through the closeout process of those projects. And this will be the release of the final retainage on all 3 projects.
I'll ask a question, Anthony. On all projects, we have resolutions here from Matthew Construction on to Schroeder Construction, or Jim Schrader Construction. Are all of these, do you want to address all of these items, or we have several things here?
Yeah, each are a little bit different. These next 3 items are the same, but beyond that are a little bit different. So
Okay.
You may want to address those separately.
Very good. We'll take the next 3 items, which are all resolutions approving progress vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the Monastery Road project voucher.
I will second.
Motion is second to approve the resolution, the final progress voucher for Monastery Road. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. The next is the progress voucher for Wahpeton Road, project FM-CO31, parens 108-55-31.
I would make a motion to approve the final voucher for Wahpeton Road project.
I will second that.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Our final resolution on progress voucher for HMA resurfacing pipe culverts and RCB new single box culvert project, excuse me, Dyersville East Road, project FM-CO31, parens 109-55-31.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the final progress voucher for Dyersville East Road.
I will second.
Motion and a second to approve the final progress voucher. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Now onto our agenda, we have resolutions for Anthony, back to you to set us up on the next resolutions, please.
Okay, thank you. So this will be for, we are needing to obtain some temporary easements for the Hidden Valley Road bridge replacement project that we're going to have this year. So we have a couple of property owners we had to work with to obtain some temporary easement to work around the bridge.
The first item E is a resolution to approve necessary right-of-way documents for bridge replacement on Hidden Valley Road, project L-B22, parens 03-73-31.
I'll make a motion to approve that resolution.
I will second.
Motion is second to approve the resolution. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Next resolution, item 7F on our agenda, to approve necessary right-of-way documents for the HMA resurfacing culvert replacement and grading on Kemp Road and King Road, project LOST-22, parens 03-73-31.
So for this particular project, this would be for our Kane and Kemp paving project this year. We needed to obtain a little bit of extra right of way to be able to do some slope widening on the side of the road there. So this is just to get the road a little bit wider and not have such a drop off.
If there are no further questions, looking for a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution for the right-of-way documents for Kemp and Kane Road project.
I will second that.
The motion is second to approve the documents. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Our next resolution is to approve the necessary documents with Matthew Construction, DBA River City Paving for the HMA resurfacing on Cedar Ridge Road, project LOST-22, parens 02-73-31.
This would be for our paving project on Cedar Ridge Road. And this would be the contract with River City to perform that work, and I would recommend that.
Anthony, were they the only bidder on this project?
Yes, they were.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the contract for Cedar Ridge Road.
I will second.
A motion and a second to approve the resolution on the contract on Cedar Ridge Road. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Our last resolution is to approve the necessary documents with Jim Schrader Construction, excuse me, for the bridge replacement on Hidden Valley Road, project L-B22, parens 03-73-31.
This would be the contract with Jim Schrader Construction for the Hidden Valley Road bridge replacement. I think we had two bidders on this. Taylor Construction was the other one. So Jim Schrader was read low and applied. So I would recommend this one here.
I'd make a motion to approve the contract with Jim Schrader Construction for the bridge replacement on Hidden Valley.
And I will second that.
Motion and a second to approve the resolution. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Next in the agenda is communications. Yes, the communications will receive but not take action. The first is a resignation from Val Pekash from the Board of Health. Do we wish to receive and file?
Yes, I'll make a motion to receive and file the resignation of Dr. Pekash and thank her for her many years of service on the Board of Health.
I will second that and also thank her for her years on the board.
Absolutely. We have a motion and a second to receive and file the correspondence. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. And then we also have some annual MMP reports from 3 enterprises. We just receive and file these reports. There's no further action the state allows us to take.
I'd make a motion to receive and file.
I will second.
Motion and a second to receive and file the annual MMP reports as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Harley, I didn't hear you. Are you with us? Have you
Yeah.
lost? Okay, very
Yeah,
good.
I think me and Jay kind of hit the same time.
Very
Sorry.
good. Thank you. The motion is approved unanimously. Moving on to appointments. There are none. It's informational only. Next, we have personnel requisitions. I'm assuming no one had any comment on open vacancies, given the time of our meeting. I'm looking to my colleagues. I see nothing there. Personnel requisitions, we have none. We'll move on. And there are no tabled or pending items. So coming to the end of our formal meeting, we have opportunity for public comments. If there's anyone who wishes to address the board on matters that are not on the agenda today, but would like to speak to the board, I would encourage you to raise your hand in Zoom, place a message in chat, and we will look to see if a hand is raised on video. And we'll pause a moment. I do not see any evidence that someone wishes to address the board at this time. So I would look for a motion for a brief recess.
I'll make a motion for a brief recess.
I will second that.
Okay, a motion, a second for a brief recess. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. We'll bring the board back into session at 10:45. Ed, while we're on recess, if you're there, who is it that's going to be giving us the COVID update? Do we have anyone here? We are not quite back in from recess yet, but if you've got something, you're muted right now. Ed, you're still muted.
Mute button. I received an incident management team report. I forwarded that on to you over the weekend. I had some questions that I didn't quite get answered from them. They are in meetings this morning with Iowa
Sure.
Department of Public Health, so they will not be here.
Okay.
And I will
Well-
do my best to provide you with any information that I can. Tried to have some email contact with them even this
Right.
morning.
We'll have Supervisor Wickham in just a minute, and then you can share if we've got an update. But I just didn't know if I was supposed to, if I could set anybody up here while we wait for us to come back into session.
I think I'm the only person to set up.
Okay, so it's 10:45. Supervisor Wickham is back with us, so we'll go back into session. We'll touch briefly on a COVID update. I had hoped to have a member of the incident management team here because I think we've all seen notices that they are moving forward and opening up another category of individuals, at least potentially opening up another category of individuals about citizens with underlying health conditions. There's been press releases and such about that, and I was hoping we'd get some more specific information to be able to share with the community at large. Ed, if you know anything about that, that would be helpful if you've spoken to any one of those individuals.
Thank you, Supervisor McDonough. This is Ed Raber. I do not have any specifics about that in addition to anything that was in the incident management team's short report. They, I believe, are probably in meetings right now. That's the reason they're not here as they learn more about that. Iowa Department of Public Health has another initiative that starts tomorrow that I think that they're also doing some training on, which is the state is partnering with the 211 Iowa system, which I was looking at it this morning, does not have any information on it yet. But the governor has described it as individuals that are 65 and older that are perhaps having a challenge getting a vaccine appointment, that they would 211 staff, it would be a live person that you would call in and reach, would be I think she called them a vaccine navigator. They do not make appointments, but they help wherever that person is calling from across the state, help them navigate to getting an appointment. They may be able to actually make that appointment for them, but it would be done with that person or with a caregiver on the phone with them. So I think that there's some training about how these things are going to be rolled out. But as of yet, 211 Iowa does not have anything on that on their website, but it is scheduled to start tomorrow. I think
Another update I was hoping to get from an incident management team as well was about manufacturing. That is also an open category on Iowa, and I know pharmacies are scheduling appointments. So the manufacturing issue is, I don't know how that's being addressed in our community. So that would be another reason to have one of those folks with us to bring that information.
What they have told us is that currently, I believe that this was brought up perhaps last week, and they seem to be sticking with that. Right now, they're looking at the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is a single dose vaccine, as being targeted toward these new employment sectors, specifically that manufacturing or food processing sector that qualifies under tier 1B, tier 2 under phase 1B. And in her report, Stacy Killian mentions that they received 200 doses of Johnson & Johnson last week, and they used those to vaccinate, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 or 4, but several smaller manufacturers in Dubuque County that, and I don't know if they were in the city where they were, but they used those to vaccinate a couple of small manufacturers. That was their test pilot, seeing how they were able to work with Johnson & Johnson. And I believe as more Johnson & Johnson vaccine doses become available in Dubuque County, that is the dosage that they're planning to allocate toward that food processing and manufacturing.
Thank you. Do my colleagues have any information they wish to share at this time, or questions we can posit to hope that they'll get back to us this week or at our next meeting?
I had talked to Tom, I believe Friday evening, that it sounded like they were going to have 2,100 vaccinations that they did in Piasta Friday at the rec center. So
That's amazing.
it's Medical Associates Clinic out there. So they did extremely well out there. As far as the Johnson & Johnson thing, that just makes common sense that would go to the manufacturing sector where, you're just going in once, so you're not disrupting everything 2 times. So
The
I would also
look-
like to get a report on the Piasta Center. I heard good comments from the general public, but I would like that written report on exactly how many vaccinations and how many citizens were served.
And that report, it would be nice if it was for us at this meeting, but it would be nice if we could request some kind of a written summary about that. It could be 3 or 4 sentences perhaps from someone, but it helps us. It's always a bad week when we don't know any new information on Monday, because there will be individuals who will email us, and it also allows for better information to go out in the media. So, but I understand they have to prioritize what they're doing, and it's okay to not make the top of the list. So
I had, if I could, I've been in contact with, prior to that event in Piasta, I'd been in contact with the city administrator and mayor there in anticipation of getting some information back from them about how they felt like it went from the community side of things. I've not heard back from them. That event was through a local medical provider and not the county, but I believe that the county was, and the incident management team assisted with that planning process. If you look at the COVID dashboard, this morning, it shows that there's a little bit over 11,000 people in Dubuque County residents that have received full doses of the vaccine, whether that was just one from Johnson & Johnson, more likely most all of them are from the others. So a little over 11,000 have received both doses or full doses. And again, just by coincidence, a little over 11,000 have received their initial dose, but are not fully vaccinated yet.
right, the bigger tale that needs to be explored is the numbers of senior citizens who have been refusing the vaccine, which means we have a communication issue also. So, we'll have to work on that, and I'd be interested to know what our plan is about that as well. That's something I've been asking for months. So it's concerning that we have a number of seniors who are declining the vaccine opportunity. So, but all right, well, we'll proceed on and we'll go to the work session we have scheduled. I believe, Ed, you and maybe Eric have a brief update for us, responding maybe to things from last week.
Yes, I exited our meeting just a little bit ago to speak with Eric. I'm not sure if he's back on the call here. Let him know. No, he is on here. I let him know that we were running just a few minutes late. There he is.
There he is.
So unless you would like to dive into that, Eric, I'll give a quick summary. I let you all know last week we had been looking at an opportunity that had been brought to our attention from FEMA about some hazard mitigation dollars. And we have been exploring what would that look like using those resources, and what exactly was our project. We continue to dive into that, have conversations with a variety of different entities. Ultimately, we had some contact last week in meetings with the Iowa DOT, and as we got more and more information, as we looked at it, what both FEMA and some of our other partners, as well as us, we determined that it was a little premature. We were not yet in the right space to be aggressively pushing forward toward a hazard mitigation application this summer. We didn't have enough information, and what initially I think a staff partner at FEMA thought was a little bit more straightforward thing ended up having a few more moving parts that we would not be able to resolve in a very short period of time. However, it has been very helpful as we gather some information, including from the DOT, about different processes. The Little Macokota area is one that would be a priority area for study in our upcoming NRCS planning grant, the WFPO, or Watershed Flooding Prevention and Operations. I'll get that right someday. So on that WFPO planning grant from NRCS, we informed you previously that we had met with some staff there. Some of the first documents that they were asking us for were ones that Eric and I worked with NRCS staff on getting some stuff from our application into a document that they call the statement of work. Later today, the NRCS is going to be sending back for our review, and we will share that with you when we get it later today. Their markup on a statement of work for us. So that is not an actionable item. That is doesn't require any signatures, but it will be part of an overall larger package. So we will be sending that to you when we get that later today. Eric, did you want to touch on any of the other issues that we've been discussing?
Well, I was just going to kind of follow up back to the Little Macokota discussion. It certainly is not over by any means. It's just we're hitting pause a little bit after more discussions with DOT and the Highway 3 work that's going on there, and some of their concerns they had regarding easements. And I think, ultimately we need to tighten up landowner discussions and land acquisitions and what that all looks like to be completely ready for a large funding package. So it's a continued collaboration, I think, between a lot of different organizations. The next round of funding, for federal dollars that we could be looking at would be BRIC funding. BRIC is going to be receiving higher amounts of funding than they ever have historically moving forward. So, and I don't know if it was me that understood incorrectly or where the miscommunication was, but you can use BRIC funding for land acquisition as well as hazard mitigation. So both those federal funding sources are a means of looking at that expensive price tag. Typically that comes with this big Greenway project. I'm also exploring and working a little bit with Houston right now on the final hydrology report that was submitted to us back in October. There was some $5,000 left on that contract, if you remember, for technical, looking at some of the technical needs that we needed and staff. So I'm working with them right now on that. One of the things that we're exploring is storage practices in the upper, middle, and lower Little Macokota. So I'm trying to come up with, as we talk about wetlands and floodplain restoration and the Greenway project, along the stream corridor itself, we're also diving into the storage capabilities and what some of those numbers would look like, because I believe it's going to be a necessary component to hazard mitigation, to BRIC, to WFPO. And I think having that information ready for the WFPO RFP that would hopefully be going out later this year or late spring, I would say, that information will be relatively important for us to putting together a successful application. So that's been ongoing. So I guess, yeah, before I I can give you a little bit of an update on some of the other programs. Is there any questions or discussion on that North Fork, Little Macokota project?
I guess my question would be on that. So it was the recommendation of the of FEMA and Jim Marmardell that we don't pursue this at this time. That was what they were saying.
Yeah,
Because I
Jim,
was confused. I thought he wanted us to apply, and that's what got this going. And then I heard through road court that Ed reported that they kind of backed off that. What's the rest of the story?
Jim seemed, well, I kind of pushed Jim for, is this project going to be doable for July? And I was, kind of trying to encourage, I think, Brian and Ed and others to try and really look at this seriously for July. And it seemed like after several different meetings and conversations with Jim, he was becoming more and more skeptical of us being able to have everything ready for July for that kind of turnaround without knowing the actual flood elevations. We were kind of getting, there's different theories right now on exactly why it's flooding. And if it's coming from I can't think of the name of the tributary that backflows off the Little Macokota. If that is the tributary, Brian seems to think there's a tributary that's backing up off Little Macokota that's actually flooding Highway 3. And then, talking to Jim and DOT last week, they were going to give us some more specific information as it related to specific flooding events and knowing exactly where they were. Jim seemed he did not think an engineering firm and not having more than just a big conceptual component of a greenway, it was going to be ready enough for a funding application come July. That was kind of our last conversation we had with them on how things were progressing. So it wasn't.
I would add to that, Supervisor Wickham, that the conversation that we had, I had a couple conversations last week with the Iowa DOT after conferring with Anthony Bargett, and we had a group meeting with them. On Iowa 3, we all know that the DOT has been doing reconstruction projects on Iowa 3, which is very nice. They've mostly been in the western part of the county. There's another section that will be coming up, I think, very shortly as they work their way east. The section around the area from Sageville and west is their last phase, and they have not fully designed that yet. So I think the fact that the DOT is going to be doing road projects there, and we're talking about mitigating flooding on that very road, the DOT, I think, also was a partner that could be more of a partner on this project, I think, as we work with them in the next year during their design phase. But the fact that they didn't even know exactly what this was going to shake out for made what Mr. Marwadell from FEMA think was a straightforward project have some nuance to it that his suggestion was that we wait and work with these partners and come up with a better project that might be more expansive, but would provide that direction that would help it get funded from FEMA, perhaps in multiple phases. So I and the team were disappointed that was the conclusion that we came to, Supervisor Wickham, but I think that was what all of our partners were pointing to. I think the DOT is anxious to work with us. This is the most challenging reconstruction project that they have this year, and probably in the state, as they try to tackle this. It's not very straightforward. They see themselves as needing some right of way. One side's a cliff and the other side's a drop off. So it's a very challenging thing for them. So I think the opportunity is to work with those partners and help to shape the project. And that will, I think, reflect very well as we gain a better understanding of what our opportunity is and pursue that.
So we are not going to be going forward with hiring consultants, correct?
We are not asking for that at this time. What we
So-
will be asking for in the next month or two is we'll be bringing a request for proposals or request for qualifications on that NRCS WFPO planning grant for consultants. So we will be doing that, and this project that we were just discussing, this little Makokata area, as well as a couple other areas around the county that we haven't fully identified yet, will be what that consulting firm will be doing. And hopefully that will give us that chance to work with those partners, do the public engagement necessary as we plan for making this the best reality out there.
Correct. My question was going to be back to Eric, because the dollars that are not going to be used, which I mean, I'd like to see those dollars be used kind of in ground still in this year. So, you know, a report about contracts with Trutera and Reharvest, because we've got funding levels that we partnered with them on, but we do have some funds that are not committed. And so tis the season to be underway with those kinds of things as well. So I think that
I'd definitely like to talk about that. Can we wrap up on the FHWA or the FEMA stuff first?
Sure.
Before we jump to our local ones. So I just have one last thing. So I appreciate the backstory and the additional understanding to try to go after those FEMA dollars. I'd encourage us to continue to look for additional applications where we can. The reason why we partnered with FEMA and specifically Jim, as we keep mentioning MHAR, and it's been wonderful, was to get their buy-in and to have applications. So we did our part. We spent over $100,000 and a lot of manpower to do the Houston engineering study and to partner with them. And what I'm hearing is that's not enough. And so what is the bar then to go after more, you know, FEMA dollars? And so maybe we can understand that. That would be helpful. So I'm a little disappointed with the head fake that we got, but I understand after, you know, hearing your comments and your thoughts, and I appreciate you running it up the poll. But so maybe we'll close that chapter and open up the other one. So Supervisor McDonough, sorry I cut you off there, but I just wanted that last comment on the little Makokata and the FEMA dollars.
Yeah, I just to close that out, Supervisor Wickham, I think the Houston data that I just referenced, like the storage, the top 100 storage, and now I'm coming down to the top 10 within each sub watershed that's coming down to the Highway 3 flooding area. The elevations, the benefit cost analysis is the missing link. That's kind of the big expensive price tag on a lot of these as it relates to federal FEMA dollars. WFPO NRCS grant, the $650,000 grant, the statement of work that you can look at later today. I think as we get this RFP underway, there's a draft RFP I think that we'll be able to use for WFPO, and that is this benefit cost analysis, this watershed plan from NRCS is 151,000 acres and includes all of these watersheds that we're talking about. And I think right now, based on the information that we have and continued landowner discussions, it'd be my preference that we start on the North Fork or on that little Makokata area first. And because I'm envisioning this larger benefit cost analysis plan, WFPO money, to be broken down into chapters, and having chapters, meaning sub watersheds, and having chapters completed. I think we'd like to see those completed as soon as possible. I know this is like a 2-year project, but I'd like to see Little Makokata as a priority at the top of the list, as we hopefully can get things ready to go for a late fall BRIC funding application. I believe that application would be due in December. So that's kind of where we're at with that, I guess. So hopefully that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it gives a little more context. I think I have been talking with Houston just about weekly. They're working on a watershed website for us right now. that work is we should have the website completely published and accessible here by the end of May. Right now, that's our target. So we've got a stakeholder group that we're working on with that. And then I've been talking to them a lot more on these flood control structures as we dive out and start meeting with landowners and setting up meetings. So,
Eric, again, as Houston Engineering does a website, it is not our intent that all of those land reports are accessible through the website, correct?
right. Yep, I understand that. And that's, as we look at this website, we haven't got to that part of what map packages are going to be available or accessible. And then, you know, I've still worked with Nikki and Jeff Miller at GIS about how we make a publicly accessible map without having how that, as we talked in the past, how that information is relayed and communicated with landowners. So yeah, we haven't got to the map packages part. We're still in the designing of the website, what we feel are critical parts, because it's going to be kind of looking at both agricultural programs, projects, practices, and urban stormwater permits, floodplain permits, all that stuff as well too. So we're trying to make it kind of the one-stop shop for our watershed stuff.
That's a new addition because they couldn't complete the contract otherwise. So I guess, have we discussed that as top value for your time? I don't know how much, you know, if we're going to start having a website now of maps from GIS, I mean, I'd like to know more about what that is and what that's pulling down into minute detail, really. You know, because we're after some big things here, I think. And if we're spending a lot of time getting Houston Engineering resources to connect and link to, based on what set of priorities does that come up? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so the website, actually the website work is tied back to the City of Dubuque contract. It's not a county project. It is an NRCS project of a separate grant that we started 3 years ago. So I'm actually going through amendments with NRCS on that right now, just the changes that are taking place. So that's where the Houston watershed website, but rather than just make it an urban watershed website component, obviously the City of Dubuque did a lot of ACPF and modeling analysis before the county's hydrology analysis. So I think we're trying to combine all the data and make it accessible of what we feel is going to be valuable and information for both city and agricultural landowners.
Eric, earlier you had said that the DOT said basically the flooding was due to a tributary backing up. I understand that where the Heritage Pond backs up and it floods 52. I guess I'm not following that at like bottom of Gillespie Hill where it goes over the road, Paradise Valley where it goes over the road, and Durango where it goes over the road. There isn't any backup there. That's flood.
Yeah,
I think Supervisor Potoff, it's all of those.
Well, that I mean, that's a good point you bring up, because a lot of that. So the challenging part with hazard mitigation and learning more and more as we walk through this process with Jim is that it gets it's a lot more complex when you throw in several roads and several intersections of flooding versus one main point, say Highway 3, this is where it floods and this is what we want to do. And Rupp Hollow Road was another road that was talked about, I feel like, a lot this past week, all the additional runoff from subdivisions, what's coming down Rupp Hollow Road as well too. We talked to Anthony about that. So it goes back to the benefit cost analysis that we're going to be working on for each one of these points, and then breaking up this watershed into smaller and smaller watersheds to kind of come up with what's going to be a manageable application process of how we try and tackle all the different I feel like there's a lot of components that are needed versus just one greenway is probably, we know that's not the answer. It's going to have an impact, positive impact, sure. But what does that number look like compared to working with Ponds and Gillespie Hill and Rupp Hollow Road and all these other areas that we're trying to focus on, using the Houston data to try and set up successful relationships with some of those landowners out there. That's where we need to go with the WFPO money.
Do we have other questions for Eric and Ed at this time? And my question to my colleagues is, when do we want to hear from them again?
I do have another question. My question would be, when are we going to see some projects? So we've appropriated $390,000 for fiscal year 21, $390,000 for fiscal year 22. We have 3 full-time employees. In addition to those fundings, we've got $600,000 from NRCS related to that planning grant. When are we going to be talking about projects? When will the board be presented either results or an application for a project on a landowner's parcel?
Right now we met last Friday with the Outcome Fund, which would be Adam Keel, Reharvest Group. From the time a farmer completes that application process, it's usually around a 3-week turnaround by the time their consultants kind of run the numbers and look at what the payment rate would be for them. We have right now, I think, roughly 2,900 acres enrolled in that program in the first 6 weeks. We're, according to their agronomist, it's one of the fastest growing counties right now in the state using that program. So I think that was really encouraging news. So that's kind of an update with Outcome. The Chutera project, again, going back to sustainability ratings, looking at farming operations and the changes for 2021 from 2020. I think we have 9 or 10 applications ready to go. My plan is to bring you and give you an update for approval on the Chutera contracts by the end of March.
Thank you.
Well, if we're looking at the end of March, on the 29th, that is our last board meeting. That is an evening meeting only. So we would need to see budget in maybe some extensive time with you then for the 22nd of March. Is that going to be okay, Eric?
The 22nd of March. Well, I just talked to the Chutera guys last Monday and told them I'd like to get folders buttoned up by, let me look at my calendar here just so that I can. 22nd is probably going to be a little soon. I told them I wanted things buttoned up by the 25th, 26th. We talk about every week just with updates. So I'm kind of watching to see where the updates go with Chutera. I could ask them if they can bump it up. I know Dylan from IES was going to be working quite a bit on this. He just got out of quarantine, so he was out for a few weeks. But I know he had March as kind of his month to try and get a lot of the Chutera contracts buttoned up as well too. Zach's been meeting with farmers just about every day. A lot of different. I think it's been positively received. A lot of questions with carbon markets, the Chutera Insight Engine, obviously Reharvest. There's a lot. I think the relationship building takes time with farmers, but I think there's a lot gonna kind of getting thrown at them here as well too, as they get ready for for planting coming up here in about a month or so. But yeah, I can talk to them about if we could have things ready for the 22nd, the 29th.
Yeah, if I could jump in, I have an idea. If my colleagues from the board would agree, verbal reports are interesting, good. They help provide commentary, but we really need some written data. How many applicants? How many site visits? How many projects? How many acres? How many dollars spent? We need that. And so between Ed and Eric, if my colleagues agree, that needs to be part of your report. And I'm losing patience. We just talk around in circles. We need to have data related to these programs. We've got 3 full-time employees, we've got 3 government entities involved, and we have private sector money, public money going to the private sector to execute these projects. We need to get more organized. If my colleagues agree, that can be your directive.
I don't think that the inability to have a board meeting, a work session on the 29th prohibits anything. I would like to see an extensive report with everything we have by month's end, and we'll just put it back for discussion on the 5th of April. But we do need to see where we stand, and not looking for the high-level consultants. I'm not interested in hiring those folks to help us do the work that we need to get done with our new employees. They're not our employees, but they're the district, but still, we need to start bringing some of that to us in written form. I don't disagree with my colleague.
We set it for April 5th. Would that give you enough time to get everything put together, Eric?
Yeah, I think April 5th is a good date to kind of focus on with coming up with that report for where we sit with all our numbers with Truterra and Reharvest, and trying to bring that back to you so that you guys can see the progress.
And I'd encourage us, and we've all worked in different groups, and that don't wait till April 5th to surprise us. So if you have a format that you wanted to bounce off Ed or other people or other supervisors saying, is this the type of data you're looking for? Get that to us in the next 5-10 days, and you'll get some iterations. You don't want to wait till April 5th for a report card by the Board of Supervisors to see if we succeeded or failed. Let's get this process moving, and let's get more data, more organization related to this program, so that we know what the outcomes we're looking at.
And that's my point too, about a report by month end. That puts you with your Truterra reharvest schedule. I don't want to see it in my Dropbox. And then that's actually Easter weekend for folks who celebrate Easter. So let's be timely about this, but any preliminary data, even something to see would be good. I think Supervisor Wickham's asking for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can certainly do that with both the outcome fund and Reharvest, or Reharvest and Truterra. I will have something put together, a document put together to kind of showcase where we're at with those dollars and contracts and so forth by the end of the month. Just finally, the $140,000 Eco Services Fund that we kind of talked about for projects. There's been discussion around that, and I think something I touched on this is where it's led to the FEMA discussion, and touched on it during the budget meeting. When we're looking at these large FEMA projects that I'm not stopping, we're hitting pause on a July deadline right now based on conversations and what we've learned, but the goal is to look at large multi-million-dollar projects and multi-million-dollar investments for both the Little Macokota and the Hewitt Creek, as those are the kind of the highlighted watersheds that have been focused on from Houston's study this past year, and hearing from other professionals in the field on where a lot of our flooding challenges exist. I know those are big dollar amounts that we're talking about in the future. When we talk $750,000 of match, we talk $5 million and up in projects, and that's just for one watershed. What about the context of an Eco Services Fund? How do we continue to establish that fund and grow that fund, so when the opportunity comes, those dollar amounts of in kind, if it's $750,000 or $1 million that we're asking for, is ready and in place, and we're not just looking at how much money this is going to cost us during that time. I think that was kind of the comment that I wanted to get back to you from you on, information as it relates to the budget work session.
I guess Eric, honestly, show me something. This is all theoretical. This is all verbal. Show me something. I'm not going to tell you that I'm interested in putting any big dollars amount until we start seeing that program roll out. I would refer you to Chris Jones' article, blog post. You and I follow him just from, I think, yesterday or Saturday. So talking about big pollution and a lot of consultants rushing in to get in on this. And yet what are we doing with what we're doing? So that's what I'd like to see before we start talking about other match dollars. The county has this as a top priority, but let's have this discussion April 5th, maybe.
Yeah, okay. I like Chris's article that was out a while ago too, talking about the big pollution. You know, I guess where I'm at and hearing, you know, the discussions with landowner, land acquisition, big storage projects, big wetlands, big projects on the ground that we talk about, Super Wickham has talked about in the past, moving this program. Soil health is, you know, Truterra, and, you know, Truterra is a sustainability program designed around operational changes. So is the Outcomes Fund. They're similar but different in different ways. But when we look at big structural projects and components in Dubuque County to help assist and look at flood reduction, there is going to be definitely a heavy price tag involved. I don't have the price tag in front of me, but I have maps of all the different storage facilities, ponds, wetlands, and I just know, and I just want to be thinking that these aren't inexpensive processes. I understand from your point that we've been talking about, it feels like planning for 2 years. You know, but it goes back to relationship building and then really trying to make sure that we're being ready and prepared with these benefit cost analysis when these large funding applications are going to come together. And to me, this was the whole intent of why we worked and started with FEMA a year and a half ago with Houston, is that we are putting ourselves in a place to go after the multi-million-dollar projects.
Yeah, and I generally agree with you, Eric. And we've talked about a vision of reducing flooding, and large projects will really move the needle. That said, you know, we have programs that the board approved. We have a 2080 agreement that was approved by 3 government bodies. You have funding, you have staff. My advice is, and if my board shares it, it comes from the board, execute on that piece. Shine on that piece. Get us that data. Get us those contracts, get us those results, show those to us each and every meeting. That's what is needed, at least from my seat, that I need to see right now, so I can have some proof points to the public that we are doing what we said we're going to do. Mm-hmm. That is mission critical number 1 for me.
Yep, I agree with you. I completely understand that.
Any other questions that we have for Eric Schmeckel and Ed on this issue?
Thank you. We love you. Hopefully don't think we're beating you up, but we just want to get going.
Understand completely.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you both.
Thanks, Ed.
Continuing on the agenda, we have a boards and commissions update. And I have a couple things there. Of course, the conference board, we did extend an offer to a new county assessor. The Telegraph's running a story about our new assessor, Billy Selby, today in their e-edition. But the conference board last week did, and Mr. Selby did accept the offer of the conference board, and it has been submitted to the IDR, so Department of Revenue, to approve. We have to wait for the state to approve our appointment before we're complete there, but that's exciting that we have a next assessor, and so just want to make sure that that's to all of us, that we know that. Other boards and commissions updates. The Access Center Committee has been meeting, and we had some connections to the Access Center in Lynn County, electronic conversations about what services they are offering there, subacute and crisis beds. So services that are not offered in Dubuque County and likely will maybe not be offered in Dubuque County, some other version perhaps, but that's certainly a growing item. And I know that Sheriff Kennedy is asked to speak to us about a board and commission idea, I think, and some concern that he has. So do you mind if we unmute the sheriff and let him give some thoughts on boards? I think it's on the health board, maybe in particular.
Morning,
Thank you.
everyone.
Good morning.
Morning, Joe.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Obviously, everybody knows that the Board of Health has been pretty much slammed for the last year, and they've done a fantastic job of guiding us through this health crisis, and certainly appreciate everything that they've done, all the assistance they've given, the advice that they've given to us and to the community, and trying to keep everybody healthy. But as we hope to kind of be on the downside of this pandemic, and hopefully within the next year kind of coming out the other side, I think we need to put into focus as we as board members get replaced and things, what is probably the next quote unquote pandemic in the area. And that has to do with the brain health, mental health issues that go on. And I know we've talked about it in several work sessions and board meetings. The amount of mental health and brain health patients that are constantly in and out of the jail, and kind of create a backlog for us. And I guess I just would like to ask the board to consider when some positions come open on the Board of Health. I don't know if people from the mental health arena ever apply for the Board of Health, but I think it would be good if we could maybe try to recruit a couple of people, because it'd be nice if people from that arena would be able to have a voice on the Board of Health as well, because I do think that that is going to be our next public health crisis in our area that we're going to have to try to do something and resolve. So that's all I really wanted to say about it. I just appreciate your time. I just would, like I said, as positions come open, I'd just like to possibly consider, or for you to consider putting some people with mental health background in some of those positions.
Thank you, Sheriff Kennedy. And in my role as liaison to the Board of Health, that was part of the discussion at the last Board of Health meeting, that they really feel disconnected from what's going on with our brain health community. We have various stakeholders, and of course, supervisors. We know we've extended a few contracts, not insignificant, to the Community Foundation to help us on, kind of focus our discussions about brain health needs in the community. But the Board of Health itself is recognizing this as a deficiency and something that they would like to be looking at in the broader public health conversation. So I think, the sheriff's comments are, I suppose he and I are attending some of these same meetings with access centers and mental health liaisons and children's brain health. I attended an extensive meeting on that at the regional level last week. So it's probably good to be inquiring if we can get some folks with that as their background to officially sit on the Board of Health. That might be a nice fit, a nice touch, certainly. So and I can reach out to ask some individuals to do that as well. I know, Ed, I think you put out I appreciate the statement that you released for all our boards and commissions. And so are there other boards and commissions updates from my colleagues that you wish to share at this time?
I have nothing.
Just to report, I've asked DCIA to give us some clarity on our appointments to the RPA and DMAT from our TA. So it seems hard to get all these acronyms and these positions right, but that's in the works.
On the RTA issue, I know Supervisor Wickham, I couldn't be at that last meeting because I was on the Regional Governing Board Subcommittee. And I know you nominated me to be chair, and let's just make sure we don't do that to each other. You know, generally appointing ourselves to nominating colleagues who are not present to chair positions. It's not helpful.
Well, I will. Yeah, so I did not mean to bite you on that one. If it seemed like Harley can jump in. They propositioned it that you know, hey, Dubuque County has to do this, and we rotate this, and it's Dubuque County's turn. And I made the comment that I had previously been the chair and the vice chair for RTA, and so on and so forth. And so with Harley being new, I then threw your name out with the clause, and I don't know if the report say if Supervisor McDonough would accept and can do the role. And so I put that on there as well. So
they have a history of that group of nominating who's ever not present, I think, which is one year how you ended up on one of the other acronyms, the RPA, I think. So, you know, it always bounces around, but certainly as colleagues here, we want to table things and give us opportunities. I'm not going to likely be able to serve as chair. I have a standing you know, commitment that's going to take me on a rotation out of the ability to be at that meeting. So, but
I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I bet. Any other boards and commissions updates? I guess we'll move on to the next issue on the agenda. If there's nothing more, which is going to take us into a closed work session. Dawn Sherman, do we still have time and interest? Are you with us?
Yes, I am. Yep. And I would ask, we'll have Mary stay on, Ed, and I've asked Stella also to join us in the closed session. So once you go into closed session, I will exit everybody else out of the room and lock the meeting for the closed session.
Okay, so at this time, we intend to go into closed session for purpose of discussing strategy for upcoming labor negotiations for the county's organized employees pursuant to Iowa Code Section 20.17 sub 3. And if anyone would like to make a motion to that effect, it would be the time.
I make a motion to go into closed session.
No, I will second that.
Motion and a second to go into closed session. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. We will enter into closed session.